Namaste and a warm welcome to the Ex Christian Show, the insider view of Christianity from the outside. Winning a war takes a variety of strategies. Of them, boots on the ground is the variety that's very crucial. So it's nice to know that several youngsters with college and university education who have a huge potential to reach the, the zenith of corporate careers are actually choosing to become foot soldiers in this war, in the ongoing war for Dharma. We have with us today one such team, and they are Akshita Bhadauria and Anirudh Timaya. So let me go straight away to them and find out what makes them intellectual Kshatriyas. So welcome to the show, Anirudh and Akshita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Esther ji, for having us. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to be able to talk a little bit about ourselves and our organization.
Absolutely. So welcome, Anirudh.
Thank you so much, Esther ji. Thank you for inviting us and introducing us. I hope this platform will help us communicate our ideas and our future vision. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pleasure is all intellectual Kshatriyas. So, Akshita, I want to start with you and ask you to talk a little bit about yourself and what makes you the intellectual Kshatriya.
Sure. So technically, I belong to the field of marketing. I spent around 3 years in the corporate, after which I ran my own business for, say, another 3 years. And then something happened in the last lockdown. You can say that I kind of realized my purpose. I got my purpose. And that's when I came up with the entire idea, or rather, we came up with the entire idea of Samyukta Bharata. So what essentially happened was it was a trigger moment, so to say. While I always was following the current affairs, the political landscape, and the religious landscape in India, I was aware of what's going. I was aware of the attacks happening on a particular religion. But it never, I mean, when you are indulged in your day-to-day activities, in your day-to-day lives, when you are really self-engrossed and all you think of, how to spend the next weekend and how to just get done with the 5 days working a week, there's not much time left to think about anything else. So while you are aware, you choose to live in denial for some reason. Reason being pretty obvious. I think last lockdown gave all of us that space and time that each one of us needed. So, like everybody, the last lockdown, I was pretty much at home thinking of ways to spend my time. I ended up spending a lot of time on social media, and that is when I came across very demeaning your comic stars and your stand-up comedians, um, demeaning the Hindu culture and our heroes and leaders. And I honestly don't know what happened. And I just made a retaliatory video. Now, I'm somebody, honestly, who's very, very camera conscious. Funny to say, because now I host my own YouTube channel under the name Akshita Speaks. But nonetheless, so I don't know what happened. And I just made that video and I just sent it to a friend of mine. I had no intentions of putting it out anywhere, because firstly it was a bit shabbily made, even though the emotions were true and pure, but I wasn't very camera ready then. I sent it to my friend and he said that you must totally put it up on Twitter. And even though I had created an account on Twitter like ages back, but I was never a consumer of that platform. It was just, around 2019, around the elections, he said that to keep a tab on everything political, you must just go onto the platform. So that's what I did. And I was in complete denial. I simply didn't want to put up my video, but he kind of pushed me to upload it. And I did. And for some reason, it went viral. I don't know why and how, maybe purely because of the emotions that were there in the video. It got completely viral. So Then I realized that people started to appreciate the content, the emotions, the ideas, and thoughts behind it. I picked up another topic only when I felt like, because even then I had nothing in mind to kind of, get into the war or wage a war as such. But I started to make videos a bit consistently, and I got active on Twitter. And then I started getting comments asking me to kind of have my own YouTube channel, make more content, etc., etc. And slowly, because of all that, I started to follow more carefully of what's happening within our country and the relentless attack on Hindus in different forms. Now, when I say Hindus attacks, it's not necessarily like people are out with swords to kill each other. These attacks are happening in multiple ways, and we're well aware of these ways and methods, right? From using your so-called entertainers, your comedians, to the content of your OTT web series and movies and media, etc. And that is when I realized that something is not very right. Also, the fact that I myself was attacked. So while these attacks are very, very virtual, I was personally attacked for my faith and my belief when I was doing my post graduation. But of course, even then, you are very much taught the concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhavna. You never think of any other religion in that way. So I just couldn't retaliate. I had no idea of how to, give it back. So they attacked me for my faith, for my belief. They mocked me for it, and I just came back home doing nothing, because at that point you are not really taught how to defend yourself.
Before you go forward, I
Hmm.
want you to spell out what you mean by attack, what
Sure.
nature, and what was involved in it.
So when I say attack, it was just around my festivals. This was, I think, the first happened during Ganpati, where I was mocked. So I very casually said, because we do get Ganpati at our home every Ganesh Chaturthi. So there was this fellow classmate who just came, and he's like, "You guys are so senseless, and you all pollute the water and the water bodies, and just see the condition after the festival, and all sorts of things happen during Visarjan, and this is a festival that shouldn't really take place."
And what
And
was his faith?
he was a
What were
Christian.
his beliefs? He's a
He was a
Christian. Okay.
because I did my post graduation from a Christian college, so we
Okay.
had a fair bit of Christians in our class, and I was honestly taken aback because, firstly, I know nothing about the other religion. Even if I have to take a pot shot, just in that. Because you're naive, you're in college. The best that you can do is, give back to the person in the same language by attacking them. But sitting here, I had no idea about that faith. So I belong to a family where we were taught about Sarvadharma Sambhavna. So since my childhood, I have not only visited temples, I had regularly visited church, Gurudwara, I've even been to mosque. So that is the kind of atmosphere that I was brought up in. I was never even told about other religions or what's wrong with them, nothing like that. So I had absolutely no idea how to give it back. Another, I was attacked again during Navratri. So I declined eating non-veg because that's a popular ritual, that those 9 days a lot of Indians give up on non-veg. So we were in the canteen, and my friend asked me for something, and again she belongs to a different religion, and I declined politely. I said, no, I'll be sticking to veg for the next 9 days. And then she burst out in laughter, like how stupid it is. You eat all around the year. Just for these 9 days, you all want to give up. And I really couldn't understand. I mean, and plus I had no answer to give. What am I to say on this? So these were the
And
attacks that
if I may ask, what faith group did she belong to?
she was a Sikh, and which came as a shock to me, honestly, because that's one thing that I was never expecting from them. And there was another attack, something related to menstruation. Again, that it's just stupid that you are not allowed to go into the temples, and something on those lines. And the next again was in my first year of my corporate life. Soon after my post graduation, I had a very good friend, again, who was a Christian. who recently had a fight with me on Twitter after 6 long years, and then we ended up blocking each other. But even then, it was 2014. I joined the corporate in April. In May, Modi ji got elected. I mean, that was the first term of BJP NDA in India. This was somewhere around in October, November, where I think they were in power for barely, what, 3, 4, 5 months. And during lunch, we got into this banter because he kept attacking our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and I just couldn't understand the reason behind it. And I said that he's been in power for not even like 3 or 4 months. How can we make a judgment? And then again, the conversation every time I asked him something, and it always went back to 2002 riots. So those things were still there in my memory, but I had no idea how to attack, how to give it back, or how to defend my identity, or how to stand up for my identity. So I just heard and I came back home quietly. Of course, these are the things that a lot of us go through, but again, we're not taught how to be proud of our identity. We're not taught how to be unapologetic Hindus. Correct?
On
While
the
that's
contrary, we are made to feel ashamed of our identity and hide it.
true.
So it's not just not being taught about it, we are actually taught the contrary.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's something that happened, and even though we are aware, we're well aware of these things happening. Somehow, they put you in guilt for belonging, for being a Hindu. And then, if that is not enough, they put you in guilt for belonging to a particular caste. They keep finding this fault lines and they keep putting you in guilt, like how they do to us every single festival. करेक्ट दिवाली पे ये होता है गणपति पे ये होता है नवरात्रि पे ये होता है होली पे ये होता है so after a point you realize that oh my god I mean genuinely your festivals are something that are damaging the environment whereas we belong to a religion where environment is one पेड़ों की पूजा होती है पानी की पूजा होती है पहाड़ों की पूजा होती है पत्थर की पूजा होती है we're the ones who are taught the meaning and the importance of the environment that we live in but then you are put into these guilt trips. So last year again, when these attacks took place by these so-called comedians, I finally, I was like, this is not the time to keep quiet. I have stayed personally. I had stayed quiet for a very, very long time, and I just realized my purpose. Now, even then, when I realized my purpose, I had zero idea as to how to move forward. I just knew one thing that I mean, the rest of my time, the rest of my life is something that this being an unapologetic Hindu and letting people know that they need to be an unapologetic Hindu is something that I need to dedicate my time to. So I decided to quit my business. I started just planning my way forward as to what to do next. In this journey, I met a lot of wonderful people, and things kept happening to me one after the other. And that's also how Samyukta Bharata happened. But before we get into the details of Samyukta Bharata, I would like even Anirudh to introduce himself.
Yeah. Anirudh, I want you to start by telling a little bit about yourself.
First of all, good afternoon to Esther ji, Akshita, and all the viewers who will be watching this. For me, it's for me the journey towards knowing more about our own dharma, our own purpose, philosophy, everything has has been a sort of a continuous journey, because certain questions just originate from your natural experiences. So, when you interact with the society, when you interact with natural forces, also certain questions just come up, and whereas what happens is certain questions sort of linger on, whereas some other questions get squelched by our own daily routines and uh, the the uh, the busy lives that we are into. But for me, these questions were kind of, they got embedded deep into my mind, and they kept reappearing, for which I wanted to find answers, and which is why I went back into our own philosophy, quotes, scriptures, and all that. So that was a kind of a journey. And what has actually transformed in the previous decade, at least for me as an individual, is uh, before it was a kind of an individual journey, the path for understanding Dharma, understanding Sanatan Dharma and everything was a kind of an individual purpose. But but because in this and since 2014 it has become a kind of from a more of an individual pursuit into a community pursuit, because uh, from what we have understood what our dharma is, it is being projected as something else on the community by forces that are unknown to us. So, and then when you read something from the Gita, and then when you see somebody else misquoting it on some other platform or on some other medium, feel you feel then what strikes you is first is it for people who haven't understood correctly, it kind of confuses the person. So there is something else in the book. Then why is this person uh, sort of distorting whatever is in the scripture? So that kind of curiosity drives people into understanding a dharma more and more, to sort of understand whether that person is wrong, or it is being misinterpreted, or it is being deliberately done. But then initially what happened was, according to my own understanding, I thought the people had misunderstood and they were quoting their own interpretations. But then after 2014, because before 2014 I was not much into politics. I was basically into my own life, my engineering and my own studies, and it was just dharma was restricted to just temples and our own home. But then after 2014, religion, politics of religion became much more intense. And that was when people also became very much interested in politics, because before 2014, as a political, as a polity, we were almost dead, because most of them were disenchanted, most of them were hopeless, and they thought that India is going to just, or Bharat is just going to go the way it is. But after 2014, uh, our hopes were sort of elevated. We expected too much from the government because that kind of an election was fought in 2014. And since then, it has always been like rising high. And then, because of the nature of politics that took a turn after 2014, where religion also became a kind of strong print uh, in our polity, then it got many people interested into understanding our own dharma itself, uh,
True.
because of the transformation in how we interact with religion. Because politics became a major factor in uh, also attacking our own religion, because the government also claims to be a Hindu nationalist government. So, and then after 2014, what happened was our own understanding of how different forces were working together to misinterpret or distort facts from our own dharma kind of became very clear, because uh, 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 it started following a certain pattern. It's not just it just didn't restrict itself to just political parties. It transcended beyond politics, political parties. Then we sort of recollected instances from the media, such as Bollywood, and then people started also retrospectively started analyzing Bollywood from 1970s. So initially, it was just taken as a part of entertainment, but then we also started understanding that entertainment also was a part of this whole collective narrative that was being imposed on the public. And then we saw it on social media, and then other platforms such as stand-up comedy, then advertisements. So then we started understanding that this is a whole ecosystem which has come together to take on just one particular community because of different reasons, maybe the party in power, or and other different factors. So what got me interested is to understand all the network of such forces collectively acting against our dharma. And then uh, initially, what the only factor that we could that I could at least identify was because of Modi, hate towards Modi and hate towards BJP and all that. And then the second factor that I could identify was from academia. There is a deep rooted Hindu phobia that was a part of the academic literature, these conferences, academicians, and uh, this kind of messaging that constantly keeps coming and hitting you, which you can't escape. And then it was not only restricted to like professional research, but then what I started doing is going through textbooks, NCRT books, CBSE books, history completely distorted again. And then people like me and others who were more curious to understand what was behind this, we tried gathering much more literature on this, going deep down into histories, historiographies, and all these textbooks. Then we could again like extend the pattern not just to research. Then it went down to our education system itself, which is highly biased uh, and not justified because it has its own inherent biases. And then again from history, when you go the next level that you go down to is who wrote these texts. So it again goes down into people. It takes us to people who are behind this, and then again linking them to their political ideologies and affiliations. So then the ecosystem started becoming much more clear, and where they were coming from. And that was a part of the thing. And later on, as we went more into deeper research, we could also find out how Abrahamic networks were working in this country to malign our dharma. And just as Akshita mentioned that uh, conversions actually basically happen in two ways. One is forceful conversion, actually three ways. Forceful conversions, under forceful conversions, there are induced conversions and sort of distorted conversions by distorting facts. Then the other one is conversions through suffering. So what happens is under forceful conversions, in under induced conversions, what happens is you sort of appeal and attract uh, people into your own belief systems. So either by providing education to your children, or sort of telling them that you're going to get good jobs if you adopt our belief system, if you come into our orders or groups. So all that. And then the other one is conversion by exploitation, like exploiting the other's pain. So whenever such disasters happen, flooding and some sort of for example pandemics such as this, and famines and all that. So one example of how Bengal changed during its famine was how Mother Teresa came and became a godly figure. So he was planted there by the missionaries during the famine to sort of provide aid, and aid just didn't come as aid, but aid became a tool or an instrument for mass conversions there. And then she became a godly figure, and how the Nobel ecosystem also uh, came together to support her and made her a global figure, and along with her, the cross also became a global thing. So that was the pattern that was observed. And so conversions such as this, and there's a conversion through misinformation. Certain people are planted to because we are not aware of our own dharma. What happens is many things that are part of the experience, or experience itself becomes a sort of a tool for them to exploit. Many people misunderstand varna and caste. Now because of this misunderstanding, there's a whole lobby which is working behind to malign dharma using the caste system. And caste has been so strongly imprinted in research that it's almost become India has become emblematic to what caste system is. So as soon as if an Indian or telling my from my own personal experience. When I'd gone for a conference, when I'd attended a conference in the Netherlands on sustainable agriculture, we were having a sort of an evening, dinner there, just a conference dinner that is usually there after every conference. The first question that I get is, okay, Anirudh, tell me, what is this caste system that people talk about in India? Is it so ruthless? Is it so discriminatory? As if there is nothing else to talk about India, as if there is nothing else, because we were in a conference that was based on scientific methods of sustainable agriculture. Now, what has caste
And
system to
what
do
what
with this topic?
nationality was this person?
She was from the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yes. So a topic that has nothing to do with it, and it's not just one-off instance. I have attended many conferences, and the first thing that they ask about India is, uh, tell me about the society, and what is this caste system all about? Is it same as the race theory that comes from Germany? And do you really think that people are should be divided just because of their birth and all that? So then I just don't know what to answer, because then you have to get into the scriptures and start explaining uh, them, like starting from what is varna and all that, because and they will
So
not
what year was this? What year was this?
this was in 2015, end of 2015.
By now you have started your research and you were finding
Absolutely.
new things.
I,
Okay.
I'm I, yeah, I'm a part of different groups actually. I have attended Ved Pathshalas. I'm a part of Chinmaya Mission, and
From your
so I
childhood?
know. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
from
Okay.
fifth grade.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So I know the Varna well, but to get down to their wavelength and talk about this, because for them, then it'll look like I'm justifying, because they don't have direct communication with our scriptures. So it has come from indirect sources, and sources which are malicious and which only end up maligning our our uh, our dharma. So then, if I just tell people that no, it is not like that. We had a system called Varna, which was basically division of labor, and it wasn't and the profession, their occupation or profession didn't depend on the nature of birth. They could choose. They had the freedom to choose, just like how we do now, where people from a family of doctors can become lawyers or whatever. It depended on their interest, but the system was based on merit. Then they say that, oh no, what is this bullshit? Because they have been exposed to that kind of messaging over a period of time. Now suddenly to inject something new, or even if you feel that is true, will not be accepted so willingly,
So
and that is the
did you try changing their opinion about it? Did you get into a discussion about the Varna system with them?
yes,
I
yes,
mean,
absolutely.
with this lady? Okay.
Yes, but what happens is, even if it is in theory, because of our past history and the historical injustices that have happened in our country, it becomes very difficult to justify. Then they get to the question that, then if you talk about merit, why are the Dalits still being subjected to that kind of discrimination and all that? So
Yeah.
again, the gap between theory and practice, it becomes very difficult. Then you need to again
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
into
I mean, in
the
theory, it may be a fantastic system, division of the society, but the practice has been something else, and we have to face it. We have to. There's
exactly.
no,
So like in
we
every
cannot,
uh,
it cannot be
like in every
justified. That's what I'm trying to say.
yes, exactly, like in every other religion, even within every other religion, there has been a kind of a power struggle. There have been different classes, different social classes which tried to usurp power. So like for example, even in Christianity, the power struggle is still on. Catholics, Protestants, Syro Malabar Church, then the Eastern versus Western Church.
Yeah, not
So
just those are denominational wars, but there's classism within each
There's
denomination
classism.
also there is still classism. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But only
Exactly.
caste system gets highlighted and caste system gets questioned.
Yes. So that's the thing that I'm talking about. They sort of look upon this dharma as if this is the only dharma that is that has certain kind of loopholes or lacunae in the implementation or in how we execute our dharmic principles, and the others are pure, which is not true, because uh, a religion or a belief system is a process in evolution. It keeps evolving, and the moment it stops evolving is it sounds that is the beginning of the end of that whatever belief system is.
Correct. Correct.
So
So how did your journey go from there to where you are today?
yes, so yeah, after 2014, after going through all these patterns and all that, then I felt the need that at least those who have at least what at least the people who know more about dharma should come out and should start uh, um, talking more about the truth that lies in these scriptures, or or the or you can say different kinds of interpretations. Then people can be exposed to different kinds, and then they can take whatever best is can be absorbed from different scriptures. So then I met with a group, and because this is the age of social media, we thought of coming up with a platform for dissemination. People who are inherently dharmic and those who are into dharmic research and communication, we thought of building an application to host such content and interact more with people, those people who are interested more in learning and understanding different aspects of our dharma, be it Gita, be it Ramayana, Mahabharata, all that. And after that, uh, uh, we after that we thought that just being online will not be sufficient, because whatever work that has to be done on the ground, because most of the population in India at least is not connected on social media. And we shouldn't restrict ourselves only to the urban middle class or the upper class. It should trickle down, and we should reach more and more people on the ground, those who are accessible as well as those who don't have access to technology. And that is when I met, and the same social media helped me to meet Akshita, who was also on a dharmic pursuit, and it brought many people and uh, together into one organization called Samyukta Bharata.
I want to go back to Akshita and ask you a little bit about your upbringing, Akshita. I know Anirudh touched upon it, but I'll go back to him again. But I want to hear from you. What kind of upbringing did you have growing up?
Correct. There are two parts to it. One being that definitely temples is something that's always been a part of a routine. I think since the baby is 42 days old, that is the first time you take a child to the temple. So since then, it's been just right before the lockdown. I had been visiting Siddhivinayak since the past 13, 14 years. I absolutely love going to the temples. So definitely temples is something that was a very, very integral part of my upbringing. But other than that, festivals, yes, the ones which are important to us, we do celebrate. But when it comes to dharmic upbringing, or when it comes to scriptures, knowing your own scriptures, your Puranas, your Itihasa, now this is something that was fairly absent from my home, because my parents' generation did not receive it from their generation. So if you go to see, I am the storyteller at my home, who keeps telling stories of from my itihas or from our Purans, etc., to my parents. Or I am the one who's much more into bhajans and shloks, because something that I absolutely love. Our faith on God and going to temple, etc. This was something which was imbibed in me very, very strongly. But also at the same time, I was, again, like I said, that, a Sarva Dharma Sambhavna was something that was taught to me. So मुझे जितना मेरे धर्म के बारे में पता था, शायद मुझे उतना ही दूसरों के भी बारे में पता था, या शायद उतना भी नहीं. But yeah, I mean, so it was a very liberal and secular upbringing in the true sense, where you are taught to coexist with other religions and other faiths. But like I then narrated, and also the fact that I come from a convent school, then my post graduation I did from a Christian college. So I had quite fair bit of an exposure, and like I said, it was a liberal, secular kind of a background that I came from. But then I narrated the instances when I started to realize that, okay, there is something wrong, something is amiss. Because that is when I realized that I had never bothered to think or know about other faith or other religion only to attack them. So when that happened to me, I was taken aback as to how do they know so much, and why this hate. So why the hate is something that uh, put that it germinated in my mind that, okay, something is wrong. Of course, I did nothing about it for the next good 5 to 6 years. But yeah, like I said, that in the past 1 or 2 years, I started to realize, I started to identify why the hate, etc. And I started to go more and more into our dharma, learning, trying to learn more about it. So that's where I think, ironically, Anirudh and I come together, where I come from a very different background when it comes to Dharma, especially. And Anirudh comes from a background who's deeply rooted into Dharma. So
Yeah.
I think both our experiences managed to, give birth to the idea of Samyukta Bharata. And I think Samyukta Bharata is going to be a learning journey even for me, because there's so much, even for me, to learn from this organization and all the activities that we do around.
Okay. So, Anirudh, I want you to go into the detail of your upbringing. I know you mentioned Chinmaya mission and other dharmic, right from your fifth grade, dharmic kind of upbringing. So, do you want to go into a detail?
Um, well, our family is kind of rooted into Dharma because we celebrate all festivals and puja and both rituals as well as uh, also the spiritual exercises. And when I mean, like from even from childhood, my mother was kind of inclined towards spirituality, and she used to even recite Mahabharata for as bedtime stories for me. So I was deeply interested into our epics, our dharmic history, and also from there, like when you get that. Yeah, that initial impetus and inspiration, you start getting certain existential questions as you grow. Like because like I had heard these stories very early on in my life, I could get questions as to why are we even here? What is the purpose in our lives? And when these questions again like strike you at a very early age, you can the pursuit also becomes kind of clearer, and the clarity that you gain is enormous. Otherwise, what happens is there'll be just battles, but you don't know why are you fighting these battles, and what is the bigger war that has to be won or that has to be understood to be won. And because what taught me getting early on into Dharma and our scriptures is uh, the right questions to ask yourself, and the right questions to be projected to the world. That is what
So,
I think.
are you saying that those questions were rooted in your upbringing? I mean, the way your parents brought you up, was that the reason you had these questions? Because you early on in your life, you happened to hear Mahabharata, the Itihasas, and maybe even Purana stories. So, is that one of the reasons you came to these questions came to your mind?
Absolutely. Because, for example, even to question, because to question the system or status quo, you need to be equally strong with facts and knowledge. Now, what happens? I'll give you a small example. Now, when somebody talks about when a school teacher uh, is telling something about the caste system in the Hindu belief order from and quoting directly from a textbook, you know, for you to again first of all in when we are in school unless we are into our own dharma and if and unless we know what's in our scriptures, we'll not be even able to question them, right? Because at that young age, if you see something in your textbook, it feels like there is no kind of that inclination to even question the book, because it's because you feel that what's given in the book, that you feel that it is the truth, right? But if you haven't exposed yourself to a different source and the original source, then you will never be able to even counter whatever is being uh, you know uh, going into your mind. So what kind of like putting yourself early on into these exercises of understanding uh, 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 those aspects which are a part of your birth, like identity, because we didn't choose it. We were born into our dharma, and unless we understand it, unless we make an effort, nobody will help us. And it is something early on in life, it becomes a personal pursuit, and only then you can get on to the level of community and the larger society. Because unless you know your dharma, you will not be able to spread the good things about your dharma to others, right?
Right. So
So it's like,
very quickly, yeah.
yes. So as like I was saying, when I came across these, even I could question this very later on in my life, because even though you're rooted in Dharma, because when it comes to school, again, you forget about such things. But later on, when it becomes a core aspect of your purpose or your life, then you start questioning. Then you get into the book again. You retrospectively see what all did I learn, what all should I unlearn, or sort of challenge. The strength to challenge actually comes from your own personal knowledge and exploring sources from like on your uh, using your own will. So that's what matters. And that is when I try to understand different aspects, varna and caste. How was it distorted? What happened during? So to understand varna and caste, first I need to understand varna. I need to go into the different Vedas which have the original sources. After that, I need to get into its interpretations. Then I read more. I try to understand more, and then I come and I see then what happened to this Varna system, which later on became, which was later projected as caste. So then I need to get into modern period of history, and then the medieval period and all that. So then it exposes me to more and more, knowledge, and then I understand, since it's a history of man, whatever begins at the start may take different forms and be in a different form by the time it reaches a certain other interval. What began as good intentions might get polluted or take some other form because of different factors, power struggles and different other
Right.
factors. Yes. So that then you start beginning to ask questions. Is it really justified to question the intention of having Varna system versus the caste system that it took, the form that it took? And can the baby be thrown with the bathwater? That's the question that we need to ask. Just because there are certain evils in, I mean, there is no system that is perfect. Just technology has led to both growth, development, and disasters. In fact, more disasters than its growth, than its benefit for
Right.
mankind. For example, this COVID-19 is a scientific result, if it gets proved. So the thing is, then should we should we discard science, because it has led to more wars and weapons of mass destruction. But people still, appreciate science because it also has benefits. It depends on how we use it. So any
Right.
form of knowledge, it depends on how we use it.